All right, we're doing another one on Solo, a Star Wars story, because we need to talk about overwriting and why it should be avoided. Okay, in the 2018 film Solo, a Star Wars story, there's this droid called L337, and there's a lot of L3's dialogue that is either an example of overwriting or inserting dialogue that simply doesn't fit the scene.
Dropping out of light speed now.
Ready to...
The Acades Maelstrom. I'm gonna go check on the dampers.
You need anything?
Equal rights?
So, what we need to do is cut back on this dialogue.
Dropping out of light speed now.
Ready to...
The Acades Maelstrom. I'm gonna go check on the dampers.
To be clear, we're not cutting way back on L3's dialogue because politics bad, activism bad. There are good movies that are politically charged. The culprit here is that L3's scenes tend to be overwritten. This is something writers and editors should watch out for. We've shown in previous videos other scenes from Star Wars movies that were overwritten and needed to have dialogue cut out to give those scenes a better flow. In Solo, the problem L3 brings is that an apparent desire to cram activism into a story that had no place for it caused L3's dialogue to be overwritten, which is why the politics in this film feel forced and out of place, because it's not a natural part of the story to begin with. That's why we're trimming L3's dialogue, because telling a good story should be our priority, and we want our storytelling to be strong. Whether or not we agree with the politics or activism makes no difference. Writers and editors must be as objective as possible and do what's best for the story. With all that said, let's take a look at L3's first scene, which begins with Beckett negotiating with Lando a deal to use Lando's ship on a job.
I'm willing to do this for 40%.
25.
25% works.
No! Unacceptable! Stop exploiting droids! You sloppy
She never learns.
So you see how this is already getting off the subject of the deal that's just been struck and going forward in the story from that deal. Let's see if this gets any better.
Who?
My first mate.
Got no business being here. Get out of here.
How can you condone this savagery? You should not be doing this. They're using you for entertainment. Yeah, you've been Eurowashed. Don't just blindly follow the program. Exercise some free will.
Okay, it's not getting any better. Now we're just way off the story path. Not to mention, L3 isn't acting like a droid that we normally see in Star Wars. If L3 was special somehow, with special programming, this would start to be okay. But there's nothing mentioned about this in the film, so let's keep going.
Stay away from him. He's never had it so good.
Oh, really? How about you have a go at me, you lumpy brute?
L3!
Droid! We are sent
I'm
here!
gonna flip your switch.
Good luck finding it.
L3!
Let go of the mean man's face.
So this is a good place to show the difference between handling a subject with subtlety and just hitting it on the nose. Here's the difference.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids, they'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Why don't you wait out by the speeder? We don't want any trouble.
I heartily agree with you, sir.
This is subtlety. This scene draws the audience into the world, shows the audience a part of that world, and allows the audience to question the morality of what they've just seen, based on their own morals. The audience is allowed to decide for themselves, and interpret for themselves, and think for themselves. And this happens within the flow of the story, with Luke entering the cantina. On the other hand,
Droids! We are sent
I'm
here!
gonna flip your switch.
Good luck finding it.
L3!
Let go of the mean man's face. We're leaving.
They don't even serve our kind here.
Now.
this is hitting it on the nose. and you can see why it's not good writing. This scene tells the audience what to think. The audience isn't allowed to participate and engage with the subject matter along with the characters in the world. This is a droid yelling at other droids for obeying their programming, but it's out of context with the story that we've seen so far. There is no setup for this scene. L3 is an activist droid in a movie that otherwise contains not even a hint of activism for droid rights. So there's simply no place for this, and all this scene does is interrupt the story and take the audience out of the story.
We're leaving.
They don't even serve our kind here.
No.
Who are these guys?
We're taking them to Kessel.
Who are we? And what if I don't elect to go to Kessel?
Please don't start.
Oh, what? You'll have me wiped?
Not to mention, L3 is loud and obnoxious and continues to be obnoxious as this scene goes on.
You couldn't get from here to Black Spire without me. Now you're gonna make the Kessel run?
If she doesn't want to fly, I'll be your co-pilot.
No. It's okay.
She's definitely going.
Oh, why? Because you're my organic overlord?
Because I'm your captain.
How about that? I actually would have a memory wiped. But she's got the best damn navigational database in the galaxy.
Could use a fresh coat of paint, though.
Well, Adonis, you do not want to press that button with me.
And it just keeps going on and focuses on L3 as if L3 is the most important character.
I can feel you looking at me.
What are we doing here? This guy's a hustler. I don't even think he's got a ship. If he does, it's gonna be a piece of junk if it's in.
There she is. My pride and joy.
So far, L3 is coming off as demanding, disrespectful, and completely abrasive. I demand droid rights. What if I don't want to go to Kessel? What, you'll have my memory wiped? You can't get anywhere without me. You need me. Oh, I have to go to Kessel because you own me? Really? Don't get me angry. Don't look at me. I can feel you looking at me. This is all information about L3 that is given to the audience within a span of only 2 minutes. And since it's the first time that we see L3, this is how L3 is introduced to the audience. And it's now how the audience sees L3 going forward. This is why it's so important as a writer or editor to be aware of the information that is passed along to the audience concerning a character, because that information colors how an audience views that character. Do we want L337 to be viewed as demanding and abrasive? No, we want the audience to like this character, so we have to cut L3's problematic dialogue out.
I'm willing to do this for 40%.
25.
We're taking them to Kessel.
Who are we?
If she doesn't want to fly, I'll be your co-pilot.
No. It's okay.
She's definitely going.
Do you see how we're staying on the subject here? We go from Beckett negotiating with Lando to Lando informing his droid that they're going to Kessel, to which his droid uses a certain tone of voice to express a single desire not to go to Kessel, as she says.
Who are we?
However, Lando orders his droid to go to Kessel anyway, which he can do because L3 is his droid, and his droid respects that.
She's got the best damn navigational database in the galaxy.
Could use a fresh coat of paint, though.
What are we doing here? This guy's a hustler. I don't even think he's got a ship. If he does, it's gonna be a piece of junk if it's in.
There she is. My pride and joy.
And there we have it. Lando gives us the information about L3's navigational database, information that will be needed later in the film. Then Han has his doubts about the ship that Beckett negotiated for to get to Kessel. So that's a smooth transition. We stayed on subject and we weren't taken off the story path to be told that droids need to be free or to watch L3 talking back to Lando as if they're married. Not to mention, we removed the memory wipe threat because there was simply no need for it. Lando simply boasted to Han about L3's navigational database to turn down Han's offer to be Lando's co-pilot. We didn't need there to be threats or conflict between Lando and L3 here, as the conflict just feels out of place. It would be as if Han said, "We're taking these people to Alderaan," and Chewie said, "What if I don't want to go to Alderaan?" You know, in his Chewbacca voice. To which Han replied, "The old man is paying us a lot of money to take him to Alderaan." And Chewie said, "And why should I go? Because I'm your loyal sidekick?" Do you hear how abrasive that sounds? We would have hated Chewbacca if that was his introduction to us. Why would we want to go on an adventure with someone like that? I mean, not long after the walk to the Falcon, we get a wonderful scene of Han having a friendly chat with Lando about Han's father and Lando's mother. We see them starting to become friends. And then this happens.
You, close with your old man?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither. My mom, on the other hand, most amazing woman I've ever known.
Excuse me. Get your presumptuous ass out of my seat. Ugh.
We have L3 being completely rude to Han, calling him presumptuous. Then she presumes that Lando is going to do whatever it is that she tells him to do. She doesn't even ask. It's not in the form of a question.
Oh, my sacral occipital circuit is sticking. You're gonna have to do that thing again later.
Yeah.
All right, course to Kessel is set.
It's as if L3 just barges into the scene, throws her weight around, and doesn't care about anyone except herself. It's just a really bad look, especially since this is not what a droid in the Star Wars universe acts like. So let's do an alternate cut of that scene and find out what L3 looks like without the repulsive attitude.
You, close with your old man?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither. My mom, on the other hand, most amazing woman I've ever known.
Excuse me. Oh, my sacral occipital circuit is sticking. All right, course to Kessel is set.
All right, nothing out of the ordinary about that. Just a droid being a droid. L3 says, "Excuse me," and Han jumps out of the co-pilot's chair. She then reports to Lando of a possible malfunction and moves on to the business of flying the Falcon. Also, since we now show L3 as polite and respectful rather than abrasive, demanding, and disrespectful, this piece of dialogue.
All right, course to Kessel is set. Plugging coordinates in now. Just keep your pinky on the yoke and try not to mess anything up.
Lands more like a harmless bit of humor, like an inside joke between Lando and L3, rather than sounding as if L3 is continuing to be abrasive, because that's what all that other dialogue set up. Of course, the other issue with L337 in this film is first hinted at with this line.
Oh, my sacral occipital circuit is sticking. You're gonna have to do that thing again later.
Yeah.
Alright, what thing are we talking about? Is there any reason to be vague with terms concerning the maintenance and repair of droids? If not, then why not use the descriptive term? So I feel that the film is going for a meaning that is not so family friendly.
Oh, that's not right. No.
And we can come to this conclusion based on the dialogue in this next scene.
What's that sound?
Carbon bergs, size of planets crashing into each other. Ships fly in there, they never come out. It's ionized gas, water vapor, possibly vacuum-breathing life forms swirling around the maw. Only way in or out is this channel. So what are you going to do about your little problem?
Problem.
That started out pretty okay, but this scene is about to go on a bit too long for its own good.
Well, that brand on your wrist tells me that you're committed. And that young male's heart fluctuations tell me he's in love with you.
Han is not in love with me.
Oh, please. It's just us. You don't have to pretend. I'm in the same situation.
You are?
I'm sure you've noticed that Lando has feelings for me, which makes working together difficult because I do not feel the same way about him.
Okay, so we see L3 getting into some girl talk with Kira, and the obvious question here is, why? Well, the obvious answer here is that this scene is missing a female character. So there's an attempt to fill in that missing piece with L3. I mean, the most sensible change to make here on a script level would have been to keep Val alive for a bit longer. Val survives the train heist, stays with the group, has this girl talk with Kira, attempting to steer Kira in the right direction concerning Han, then Val dies on Kessel, or while the Falcon is sustaining heavy damage during the Kessel run. But since that didn't happen, we'll have to cut this girl talk out. Let's watch the remainder of this scene.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Sometimes I think, maybe. But no. We're just not compatible.
How would that work?
It works.
It works? Okay, so we know what it is now. And how is this family-friendly Star Wars entertainment? Yes, violence happens in Star Wars, but is there any reason to insert a topic that involves droids being used for pleasure? This is not something we've normally seen in Star Wars, so it's really not a Star Wars thing. It has a place in other entertainment, other movies even, but it has no place in Star Wars. So let's see what happens when this questionable material is removed.
What's that sound?
Carbon bergs, size of planets crashing into each other. Ships fly in there, they never come out. It's ionized gas, water vapor, possibly vacuum-breathing life forms swirling around the maw. Only way in or out is this channel.
Did you see what happened when we got rid of all that stuff that was just getting in the way of the story? We ended up with a beautiful transition from one clip to the next. Let's compare.
It's ionized gas, water vapor, possibly vacuum-breathing life forms swirling around the maw. Only way in or out is this channel. So what are you going to do about your little problem? It's ionized gas, water vapor, possibly vacuum-breathing life forms swirling around the maw. Only way in or out is this channel.
In the alternate cut, L3 simply does what a droid does in the Star Wars universe. She gives information and continues flying, and says the only way in or out is this channel, as we see the Falcon flying through the channel. Which is why the alternate cut feels more like a scene from a Star Wars movie. Because when we remove all that other stuff, we avoid scenes feeling as if they're overwritten. And as a result, the storytelling now has a smooth flow from one scene to the next. And we'll talk more about that in part 2 of this 2-part video series. Because there's lots more to talk about.